There was a young man who was struggling to go up the steep mountain. The young man was panting, catching his breath while reaching his destination. Now, he reaches the Mount Hua Sect. He was amazed that the Mount Hua Sect had changed to become more reputable after the Mount Hua and Southern Edge conference from 2 years ago. Hoping that his father's judgment was not wrong in trusting the Mount Hua Sect, he knocked on the door so hard. One of the disciples opened the door and told him that right now, they are not accepting any guests, and he should come back again tomorrow. Seeing that he needs to come back again and needs to climb up on the mountain, he was so determined to not let that happen. He introduces himself as Wei Sahying from the Hua Shadow Sect, an external sect that is affiliated with the Mount Hua Sect. He said that he needs to meet the sect leader because of an emergency. Since a favor from the young man smells a lot of money, the financial advisor was ready to cater to his needs at any time, but the sect leader told him to keep quiet. Then the sect leader asks his reason for going in there and what actually happened. Wei Sahying told the sect leader that the Shadow Sect is in trouble, so his father sent him to request the Mount Hua Sect's help. The sect leader asks him to what kind of help is he referring to. The young man told him that he asks for Chung Myung. He would like to bring the hero of Mount Hua, the divine dragon Chung Myung, to their sect. Everyone was so shocked hearing that. The sect leader told him that instead of diving into business, he should explain their situation first. The young man apologized for the rush behavior and told them that everything happened because of the martial arts academy known as the Path Academy that was founded opposite of the Shadow Sect. The Path Academy was affiliated with the Wudang Sect, and as soon as they were built, they suddenly pull in the trainees around them. Considering the fact that the Hua Shadow Sect is quite recognized in Nanyang, their sect didn't care about that growth. But the sect provoked Wei Sahying, father, and his father blew up the provocation, causing great damage to their sect. In the fight with the Path Academy head, the Path Academy intent to drive the Hua Shadow Sect out of Nanyang. That is the reason this young man asks for help in the Mount Hua. His father heard that the Wudang Sect disciples will be visiting Nanyang, so his father quickly sent him to the Mount Hua to ask for help. The sect leader said that the Wudang should be the seekers of the Taoism, but Wei Sahying told him they are brutal and evil people. Mount Hua sect leader thinks that is an issue they cannot ignore. After all, the number of affiliated groups indicates the strength of a sect. Now that the Mount Hua sect decided to step into the world, the sect leader thinks that they need to start increasing their affiliated groups if they want to recover their glory. Some of the disciples will split up and build their own academies, and if they neglect that issue with their current affiliated groups, then people will not trust the main sect when new ones will open. The young man told him that he wants to bring Chung Myung back, the hero that defeated everyone from the Southern Edge sect alone in the conference 2 years ago. But the sect leader knows that the rumors going around is not accurate. That is why he was worried, because Chung Myung is a beast where no one can put a leash. The leaders discuss things before deciding. One of the leaders, Ungum, told the sect leader that there are 2 things that they need to discuss. The first would be whether it is the right time for the Mount Hua sect to resume their activities in the outside world, because if that happens, people will think that the Mount Hua sect has returned. And the second thing would be if the disciples can face the Wudang, or to be specific, is it okay to release Chiang Myung? But Jum told them that Chung Myung will step into Jianghu one day, and it is useless to delay that, and it is better to let him experience the realities of the world. To let Chiang Myung suffer first is a wise answer that even made the sect leader agree. But of course, Chung Myung was the one who creates suffering for his fellow disciples. Yoon Young, a senior of Chung Myung, was called and told him about the discussion that Chung Myung will be sent far away after his isolated training. Sect leader ordered Yoon Young to guide the guests since they will be traveling together. The leader told him to introduce him to Chun Myung. Wei Sahying looked at Yoon Young and sees that he is not much older than him, but his vibe is actually on a different level than him. It was like there was a huge lake of energy within him. Wei Sahyang was so curious about what kind of person Chung Myung is because his whereabouts are unknown ever since the conference 2 years ago. Some say he is a swordsman whose vibes are sharp like blades. Others says he is a noble, broad-minded warrior. But Yoon Young knows what kind of bastard is Chung Myung. That is why he asks why the hell are the people saying that. But of course, he just whispers it on his mind. Then they reach the Plum Blossom Cavern, where people come to train in peace to gain enlightenment. Yoon Young told him that he will call Chun Myung for now, but he only whispered on the stone because he feared that he will be beaten up if he disturbs Chun Myung training. Yoon Young told the guest that he thinks Chun Myung was training very hard, and he thinks he will not be able to meet up with someone today. But Wei Sahyang asks him to wait because he did not call Chung Myung at all. Then both of them were surprised when a large explosion of the stone was made. Then, a shadow of a walking warrior was walking outside the cave. The young men started to question if that is him, the person who defeated 10 second-class disciples of the Southern Edge sect, including a warrior named Jin alone, one of the rising stars of the next generation. But Chung Myung was cursing and said that he almost died eating tons of grain balls. And he said that is the reason he does not want to go into isolated training. He said that he will change his surname if he will do it again. Hearing those words, the young man could only conclude that person is not Chung Myung. He heard from the rumors. Young Master Wei asks, who is this young lad? He was so sure that this young man is not the blessed dragon of the Mount Hua. But there is something unusual about him. If we set aside his attitude, he has rather a good physique and is handsome. That is what young Master Wei thinks. Glancing on the young master, Chung Myung asks who is the young man. Yoon Young told him that he is young Master Wei Sahyang, who is a guest from Hua Shadow Sect. Hearing that made Chung Myung happy that a sect from his past life survived from collapsing. Cheung Myung leaves saying he can't wait to taste meat which he never had during training. Young Master Wei thinks that the attitude of the young lad is night and day compared to what he expected of his fellow disciple in the main sect, and he also thinks that he is like a market thug. Young Master Wei asks if where is the blessed dragon of the Mount Hua. Since that is the reason why did he go to the main sect, Yoon Young said that he is not sure where he get that title, the blessed dragon, and he assured him that the rascal earlier was the one he seek. Hearing those breaks all of his imagination about the blessed dragon Chung Myung, because he is entirely different from what he expected. Yoon Young told him that he should not be shocked yet, since what he saw is just the beginning of how rascal Cheong Myung is. In the meeting hall, Cheong Myung was so angry hearing the news about Wudang. He was so angry that some sect was messing with them, since in the past, his sect is not something that can be messed with. Cheong Myung assured the sect master to leave all the problems to him since he will take care of it. Yoon Young asks what is his plan. Cheong Myung just said that he will bust their head open, including those clowns in the Wudang, and burn their stupid hall to the ground so they can never set foot on the Nanning again. He also indicates that they must protect the people in their territory who pays them protection money. Hearing the word money could make the financial advisor nod and agree at what Cheong Myung said. Since they started the fight, he asks the sect leader to allow him to finish it, and he will bust off every single one who messed with their affiliated sect. Hearing the words of the rascal could only make the sect leader's head to throb. The sect leader told him that he will travel with his fellow brothers and that there is more to be learned about the situation. Cheong Myung said he will do anything the sect leader was saying, as long as he can bust off the head of the Wudang disciples. The debate ended, and before leaving, the sect master asks Cheong Myung about the progress of his isolation training. Cheong Myung said that the Wudang fools will be the first to find out the fruit of his training. Then, sect leader thinks that it is not a mere coincidence that a Wudang has suddenly opened a cadet sect in Nanning after years of peace, and has a feud with the affiliated sect of the Mount Hua. The sect leader tries to wonder about their main reason, but he does not know if it is the right decision to send Cheong Myung into the feud. The fame only causes him the concern. The very title of the blessed dragon of Mount Hua is extravagant to the point of excessiveness, since Wudang is not someone who will accept the rise of another sect that will surpass their own fame. Jum told the sect leader that there is a different nickname for Chiang Myong and his fellow disciple. The sect leader asks what it is. Jum told him that he was called as the Mad Dog of Mount Hua. The sect leader could only think that he was compared to a barking dog by his fellow disciple. Jum assured that the last 2 years is significant to Chiang Myong, and anyone who will treat him a fool will learn how the name Blessed Dragon came to be. He also indicates that he needs some level-headed companions alongside with him to keep him from his reckless behavior. In the dining hall, Chiang Myong was eating like Monkey D. Luffy, who swallows everything he sees. Seeing that made the young Master Wee to think twice. If he is the blessed dragon he heard of, he eats like a mountain bandit. The blessed dragon should be more like the gorging feeding dragon pig. He believes that Yun Yung, who eats more formal, more fitting to have the blessed dragon nickname. Chiang Myong suddenly asks his fellow disciples if they kept up their training in his absence. That made everyone scared and flinch. Everyone blamed Yun Yung for bringing the rascal back so soon. The 3 months without him have been a blessing for them. Yun Yung told Chiang Myong that they have been tirelessly training. Chiang Myong asks him to let them show him a short demonstration. But Yun Yung cut him up before he finishes talking and changed the subject, that the Hua Shadow Sect is much more of a pressing concern. That also made Chiang Myong focus on his goal, which is to bust off the head of the Wudang. He asks Yun Yung on when will they depart to Nanying. Yun Yung told him that the sect leader already bid them that they will depart tomorrow morning. Yun Yung told him to pack his things. Chiang Myong then leaves, leaving the bone only on the plate. Chiang Myong leaves the dining hall and then told his fellow disciple that he will gather his things. After Chiang Myong leaves, many murmurs about the disciple can be heard. Someone thought that he will gonna receive another beating, and someone even thinks that his life flashes before her eyes. Young Master Wee started to question his mind, because he thought that Chiang Myong was the youngest among the trainees. He was confused why the seniors were addressing him like their boss, and even his sect uncles are cowering over him. Yun Yung told the young master to not think about it, since it is no use trying to understand the situation, and he will see when the time comes the true color of Chiang Myong. The day comes in. The fellow disciples are coming to the set-off areas. The first one is Yun Yung, a third-grade disciple of Mount Hua. Then the next one is Jojiel, who is also a third-grade disciple of Mount Hua. Jojiel said that their senior brother, Baekshin, will coming. The young master was amazed that Baekshin is coming, the young master, who led his fellow disciples into the realm of obliterating a group of fearsome bandits and saved countless lives in the process. Baekshin, the righteous blossom, a second-grade disciple of Mount Hua. Young Master Wee was so amazed since he looks like the hero of what the rumors said. Yun Yung greeted him, hoping that his senior brother has a restful night. He asks Yun Yung if that is the face of someone who is restful, because not only the rascal Chiang Myong got out of his hole too early, but now, he was assigned to a mission with him across to another realm. He asks what crime he did to become a part of Chiang Myong group. Young Master Wee greeted Baekshin and told him that he was the one that is part of the Hua Shadow group. Then a girl with a scary eye appeared on his back. That made him shout in fear, surprised at her presence. He was shocked that it was a girl and starting to question when did she suddenly sneaked up. What surprised him more is her prodigious beauty. She is Isil Yu, a second-grade disciple of Mount Hua, and although she has severe looks, she can't hide her beauty. Young Master Wee has never seen a beautiful woman like her in his whole life. The Mount Hua sect is not the bustling sect anymore, and it leaves a great impression for the young Master Wee. But the most unique among them all is without a doubt, speaking of the devil. He is someone who is walking right now. Hearing those footsteps make everyone fear, like someone is calling the Grim Reaper. It was Chiang Myong, a third-grade disciple of Mount Hua, greeting his seniors. Nice to see you all so bright and early. Hearing that made everyone frown, wishing that they could say the same phrase. The sect leader opens the door of his office and asks them if they are all ready to depart. The sect leader told young Master Wee that these are the finest Mount Hua disciples that will serve their esteemed sect. Young master, we happily thanks the sect leader for his aid on their sect. Before leaving, the sect leader leaves a message for everyone, and lastly, for Chiang Myong. The sect leader begged Chiang Myong to not cause any trouble. Chiang Myong was so confused, because he was only the one who asked for something before leaving. The sect leader told the disciples to travel to Nanyang and offer aid to their sect brothers, and show the realm that Mount Hua was stronger than ever. 2 years is not a short amount of time, and now is the time to proclaim the rebirth of Mount Hua. 2 years had only passed, but now everyone on the Mount Hua sect was worried that they will beat the Wudang so badly. Although they will be fine running from Mount Hua to Nanyang, we saw Hiang can't take it, so they need to find a better way for their mission. Then Chiang Myong showed up his silver, saying that he has his own method, which made everyone shocked about where did he get that money. Chiang Myong bought alcohol, and the rest of the money was used to buy a carriage. It was the first time for young Master Wei to see a Taoist drinking an alcohol, but the Mount Hua sect doesn't forbid someone to drink alcohol. Since Baekshun didn't hear about the details, he asks what kind of place is the Hua Shadow sect like. He said that it is good for them to know the current situation, since they are going to help there. Wei Sahing told them that it was nothing special, but Baekshun told him that it is special since the Hua Shadow sect has not shown their back to Mount Hua, and kept the title with pride. Baekshun told him that there is nothing like that place in this entire world. Wei Sahing told him that he has only done it because of a sense of duty, and his father was the one who believed and was proud about the Mount Hua sect. But Chiang Myong knows that they face a lot of hardship, since no one would join to a failing martial arts academy, and it is better for them to give up the sect. Wei Sahing told them that his father was happy when he heard that Mount Hua won in the conference 2 years ago. He said that Mount Hua has started to spread his wings once again. He even drinks alcohol even though he doesn't usually drinks. Wei Sahing told them that his father was so proud to be an outer disciple of the Mount Hua, even though his great-grandfather was the one who learned directly from the Mount Hua sect. They had a good reputation in the academy until the Path Academy started to interfere. He also said that his father never slacked on his training, and that he would never even lose to men who are young and in their prime. Chiang Myong could only agree while listening, because, unlike normal people, the more internal energy a martial artist accumulates, the stronger they become, and the slower they age. That is why the Murim is filled with strong old men. Wei Sahing told them that the Path Academy master was so young, and he did not understand why his father lost to that man. He also apologized because his father was the one who was proud of the Mount Hua, and he only understands it now. He said that Wudang is not an easy opponent, and he will be eternally grateful to them no matter what it ends. Then Chiang Myong enters the conversation, angrily asking what does he mean when he said, no matter what it ends. Because for him, there is only one end. And that is, those bastards' heads will end up being crushed. Wei Sahing could only question, why is he so obsessed with crushing heads? Yun Yung said to not go overboard, since that is what their sect master ordered. Chiang Myong said that their sect leader doesn't have much time left to live, and he will make sure that the sect leader gets to witness him crushing the heads of those Wudang bastards. Only then he will be able to ascend as a deity with a smile on his face. Zhou Jiel could only praise how incredible he is on how he manages to show respect and disrespect to the sect leader in one phrase. Chiang Myong said, we need to let the people know that their heads will be broken, whatever the reason they had for messing the Mount Hua. Then he ordered them to rush towards to Hua Shadow sect. On a rainy night in Hua Shadow sect, the sect leader of Hua Shadow sect, Wei Limzin, believes that the help from Mount Hua sect will come soon. He was sure that they will come. Yeum Pyung, a disciple of the Hua Shadow sect, told the sect leader that it is pointless, especially since their enemies are the Wudang sect. Although the Mount Hua sect become a little famous, but they are not big enough to fight on part with the Wudang sect. He told the sect leader to accept the harsh truth, and they should not wait for help, rather resolve everything by themselves. The sect leader told Pyong that they are an outer sect of Mount Hua, and they should not abandon their origins, because even if they will choose to become the outer sect of others, thing will not change. He doesn't want to become a sect that will be abandoned, that is why he will never do that. Pyong told him that no one will acknowledge what he is doing. But the sect leader said that he does not seek acknowledgement, and only does it because he wants to protect the things that he needs to protect. Then a strong knock on their sect's gate asking if sect leader was inside. A man is shouting, telling him he needs to go out now, since they needed to settle something with a group of men on the gate. Sect leader Wei thinks about what will he do to face them. The sect leader has no choice but to go out because he does not want to be accused as a coward. The sect leader told them that he does not have anything to say to them. The Path Academy master told him that he does not want him to beat around the bush since he already knows the answer. He told sect master Wei that he needs to set out on Nanyang since he was defeated in a fight. But sect leader told them that there is no agreement at all, that someone needs to leave if being defeated. The Path Master told him that it is an unspoken rule that must follow for someone who is defeated. Sect leader Wei stubbornly said that he will not leave Nanyang. The Path Master told him that there will be bloodshed if he will not leave. Then some young man enters the conversation and asks the master to talk to sect leader Wei on his behalf. The Path Master said that he does not want him to involve in something so trivial, but the young man insists. From the hat that he was wearing, the robe and the sign on his clothing, sect leader Wei knows that this young man was a disciple of Wudang. Then the young man introduces himself as the second-class disciple of Wudang named Jin Hyan. Sect leader Wei could only feel shocked hearing the name Jin Hyan, the unceasing sword, also called the Wudang sword dragon. He is a top disciple of the new generation and someone who could become the strongest swordsman in the world. Jin Hyan told sect master Wei that it is not a good idea that there are two martial academies in a small territory, and if both academies will stay, the Hua Shadow Sect will be the one to suffer more. Jin Hyan suggested that the Wudang will pay the cost of the relocation of the Hua Shadow Sect so that they can move away. Hearing that made sect master Wei angry, since money is not the problem, and Wudang just acts like a land grabber. The Hua Shadow Sect belongs to Nanyang and has a history in the place. Asking them to leave is like erasing all the background of the Shadow Sect and will start from scratch. Sect leader told him that he has no plan to leave. Jin Hyan told him that there is a way for them to say, and sect leader Wei responded that he is happy to compromise as long as they can stay. But Jin Hyan told him that he must remove the plum blossom symbol in their board. Jin Hyan indicates that although Mount Hua is not very powerful right now, they are still considered their rival, and they can't allow another sect to exist on their place. Jin Hyan asks him to make a choice, which is to be part of the Wudang or the Hua Shadow Sect to be completely erased in Nanyang. Sect leader Wei responded that they will not abandon the Mount Hua sect. Jin Hyan told him that he will give him 6 hours to pack, or he will use force in order for them to leave the place. Sect leader Wei told them that they are so shameless, and that is not how the reputable Wudang should behave. Jin Hyan told him that it is how the Wudang sect operated, and the sect leader is the one who is not reasonable for not choosing the options that they had given. Jin Hyan and his group leave and reminded him that he will only give 6 hours. Jin Hyan also added that he should not wait on the Mount Hua sect, and if he wait for help, he should choose another reputable sect. Then a young man suddenly appeared, saying that Wudang only speaks bullshit. Wudang disciples ask him his name, and then he just pushes one disciple away, telling him that he is the one who will beat the Taoist bastards. Jin Hyan could only think that he is a lunatic, pushing some swordsmen from a famous Wudang sect. His comrades also come asking the Wudang sect disciples, why are they blocking the gate? Then Wei Sahing enters the area. Sahing was greeted by his father Limzin, who happily welcomed him back. Sahing told his father that he had already brought the disciples of Mount Hua sect as what he orders. Hearing that made Jin Hyan asks, what Mount Hua sect? Then Chiang Myong replied that they are really the Mount Hua sect, and who else would be? They are not from Shaolin since they have hairs. Jin Hyan notices the plum blossom symbol on their chest, which means they are from Mount Hua. Baekshin greeted sect leader Wei and introduced himself as the second-class disciple that was sent by their sect leader to fix the troubles. Hearing the name of Baekshun made the sect leader fall in shock, as the Hua righteous sword is now in his front to offer a help. He sees Baekshun as someone who has a charisma that will not lose to Jin Hyan the unceasing sword. Seeing Baekshun made him also conclude that Mount Hua Divine Dragon is there as well. Then Cheong Myong comes running to the sect leader, greeting him as some client who pays protection fee consistently for 30 years. Yoon Young told him to not call it a protection fee. Then Cheong Myong happily grabs his hand and introduces himself as Cheong Myong of the Mount Hua sect. That made the sect leader confused since he is not what he is expecting from the rumors. Jin Hyung asks him if he is really Cheong Myong, who is the one that is called the Divine Dragon of Mount Hua sect. Cheong Myong replied, "I'm not sure what you call me or what nickname you are using, but I am really Cheong Myong. Do you want me to provide the certificate or something?" Jin Hyan cannot believe that a thug like him is called Cheong Myong that was given the nickname Divine Dragon, which is more prestigious than Sword Dragon. Cheong Myong grabbed the hand of the leader like he is holding a treasure and assured him to leave everything to him since they are the best payer of protection fees. Looking at that, Jin Hyan just cannot believe that some thug is actually stronger than him. Baekshun told him that he can talk to him instead about the problem. Jin Hyan replied that it seems to mean that Mount Hua is getting involved in this matter. Jin Hyan could only think that the Mount Hua sect are ridiculous for involving themselves in Wudang just by only gaining a small fame. Baekshun told him that it is better to talk things out, but I think the Wudang has no intention doing that. He then released a very eerie aura. Jin Hyan feels that his vibe is no joke, like pushing down the whole area, and compares him to Cheong Myong, who he thinks doesn't suit up his nickname. Jin Hyan asks Baekshun for a duel. And then Cheong Myong enters the conversation, telling him that it was just a piece of crap since they did not come just to have a duel. Cheong Myong told them that as someone in someone else's sect, they did not show respect and asked them to leave unless they want to die. Their darn manners only come to play when they want to. Hearing those insults make Jin Hyan so angry that he wants to unsheath his sword. Cheong Myong told him that in 6 hours they should brace themselves for a broken head if they actually return. Jin Hyan asks him if he can take that statement as the position of the Mount Hua sect. Baekshun replied that they will not take back the statement they release, and he already seen that the Wudang decided that case early on. Jin Hyan told him, one day, after tomorrow, they will attack the Hua Shadow sect, and reminded them that he will not hold responsible on the mishap that will happen. Cheong Myong replied that the Wudang sect are just a cowardly warrior who change the rule however they want. Last time, they said 6 hours, and now 1 day. They are just changing the rules however they want. That made it even elevate the anger of Jin Hyan. Yoon Young could only bid him his good luck, and thought that it is better to not talk to him at all or he will not be able to control himself. Even Jojiel got angry hearing the words of Cheong Myong. Jin Hyan holds his anger and told Cheong Myong that he will meet him tomorrow. At the same time, Jin Hyan and his fellow disciple leave the area. Yoon Young could only praise him for holding back, which is expected of the disciples of Wudang. Cheong Myong happily told the leader to trust them and that he needs to just sit back and relax. The leader angrily told Cheong Myong if he really understands what he had done. The sect leader shouted at him, telling him that he asks them to settle things, not to start an all-out war. Then he passed out from stress. On the other hand, the fellow disciples of Wudang asks Jin Hyan why did he decided to attack tomorrow if they can do it right away. Jin Hyan replied, that is because if he had done it right away, he might have killed Cheong Myong. He proudly says to his fellow disciple, they will know what will happen when they make an enemy to the Wudang sect. On a very peaceful place, Limzin, which is the sect leader, was called by his father. His father told him that Mount Hua is a very reputable sect, and even they gone through hardship, they will rise again. His father told him that he should not judge them based on the current situation, so that one day the Hua Shadow sect will soar to the top again. Protect the Mount Hua sect, that was his last message. And then sect leader Wei Limzin woke up from that dream. In the dining, Sahyang could only watch the pigs from Mount Hua while eating. Cheung Myeong and Jo Jeol were debating on the food on who will get it. Sect leader Wee angrily opened the door and told them that it is not the time to be having the drinks because of the severity of the situation. Cheung Myeong asks for forgiveness for the leader and told him that he is sorry that his comrades are a little bit carefree. But of course, we know he is the mastermind. Seeing the Mount Hua disciples act, the sect leader could only thought, to hell with the reputable sect. Sect leader Wee told them that he intends to give up the shadow sect and told them that it is better to end this and leave the place before the set one-day deadline. Baekshin told him that he understands his decision and somewhat they look like unreliable. But before he finishes his speech, the sect leader told them that it is not because they don't trust them that they will leave, but it is because their enemy is Wudang. Cheung Myeong asks the sect leader what is good in this place that the Wudang wants to claim and uses underhanded methods. Then sect leader replied that there isn't much. Cheung Myeong realizes that there is something else, because the Wudang that he knows will just chant Amitabha even in their dying state. The sect leader told them to please return to the Mount Hua sect tomorrow before dawn. But Cheung Myeong replied that won't do since they need to resolve the problem before they can return. Cheung Myeong said that they will not abandon their outer sect, and the world knows that. Hearing that made the sect leader want to change his mind and his judgment about Cheung Myeong. Cheung Myeong asks a favor of the sect leader, and the sect leader responded that he will do everything as long as it is within his capabilities. Then Cheung Myeong asks if he has another wine, and he asks for another bottle. Hearing that made the leader conclude that his judgment about Cheung Myeong as a thug is not wrong at all. Jin Mu, a second-class disciple, asks if he thinks that the Mount Hua sect will run or not. Jin Hyan replied that the Hua Shadow sect may run, but he is sure that Mount Hua will stay and fight. He was also sure that Cheung Myeong will stay, because he will become a laughing stock if he run when he is the one who starts provoking the Wudang. He doesn't blame Cheung Myeong for being arrogant since he is young, and become famous he ought to teach Cheung Myeong a lesson as an adult. But he said to his fellow disciple that they must not forget their true objective. The reason why they are obsessed with the Hua Shadow sect and even create a fake path sect is because of the sword graveyard that can make them overcome the Shaolin and became the best in the world, making all kneel in the face of Wudang. In the morning, Cheung Myeong was so drunk that he was so wasted on the side of the sect. He said that he does not feel good inside. Yoon Young angrily told him that he should control himself. And how does he drink more if he does not feel good inside? Jo Jeol told him, how can he drink so much when there is a fight that is going to come? Cheung Myeong just sober himself up by releasing it, but it reeks too much of alcohol. Sect leader Wee told to think that the one who should face the Wudang are the Mount Hua, since they are the ones who provoked them, and if they fight, they cannot leave the place unscathed. But he asks his son Sahyang, what will he do? But Sahyang told his father that he will fight alongside with them. They should not just watch and stand by since they are the owner of the place. He also added that this place is where he developed his respect to his father and cherished the Hua Shadow sect. He also said that he seen the Mount Hua sect leader who offered to send help without a single ounce of hesitation. Their way of doing might be wrong or crude, but their desire to help is righteous. That is why Sahyang was so determined to fight alongside them, even if that means that he will die. Hearing that made sect leader Wee ashamed of himself, since he wants to escape when the crisis comes. The sect leader ordered Pyong to open the main door and asks him to tell the disciples that they can leave and go home, and they can fight if they want to stay. If they survive this day, they can still go back and the sect leader will still accept them without any conditions. Pyong told him that if he does that, no one will stay and fight. The sect leader says that he will stay together with his son Sahyang, and that is enough. Pyong said that he doesn't want to take the name of the Mount Hua sect, but he will take the name of the Hua Shadow sect and will fight. But this crazy Cheung Myeong was so drunk in the side while saying that wine is best. Baekshin said his final regards before the mission and told his fellow disciple that this fight is different from their other fights. He said that this fight is not only their fight, but they will be fighting with the name of the Mount Hua sect on their backs. Everyone replied, "We'll bear that in mind." Now, the disciples of the Hua Shadow sect are leaving as they open the gate temporarily. Those who want to left have already left, since that is an unwanted fight after all. Despite that, there are still many disciples stayed and wants to fight till the end. Chiang Myong commends the Hua Shadow sect and told them that this is a good sect, and he thinks that some of the disciples are like the Mount Hua sect. In his past life, Wei Sahyung and the sect leader Wei Limzin expressed their gratitude to Mount Hua sect for their help and assured them that he and his fellow disciples will fight alongside with them. Baekshin told that sect leader that they don't need to do that since they are doing their job. Chiang Myong praised leader Wei and told them that he is incredible and kept his loyalty to Mount Hua for 30 years. Yoon Young could only tell that he is talking about money, and Jojiel agrees that it is obvious if you think about it. Chiang Myong told the sect leader that even Hua Shadow sect are prepared. They don't need to involve themselves, and they will know it when they see it. Now, it is the perfect time since the Wudang people is coming to fight. The one who leads them is the second-class disciple, Jin Hyan. He ordered all of the disciples of the Wudang to go and charge on the Hua Shadow sect. And a lot of disciples suddenly rush and jump towards the sect. The Mount Hua sect also prepared for their act, doing a defensive stance in martial arts. They heard that a lot of martial arts is rushing, and Baekshin told them, "Here they come." 3 disciples of Wudang were the first to rush to the place. But with the blink of an eye, Chiang Myong was gone in his drinking place, leaving only the bottle. With a very dark, eerie aura, he was suddenly seen at the back of Baekshin. There is a wind that rotating from his palm when he tries to release a palm attack. With just one attack, all of the disciples of Wudang flew away outside of the sect. Baekshin could only say in his thought, "Beat them to your heart's content, you monster." Chiang Myong could only be confused after that attack, thinking that he should just let them in first. The 3 disciples do not know what kind of attack is the one that hits them. They think it like a gust of wind. Seeing that 3 of the disciples did not even see the attack at all, Jin Hyan concludes that they must be using tricks. He decided to go first, since they did not know what kind of traps are waiting for them. Jin Hyan leads the full attack with his fellow disciples at his back. He pulls his sword, gathering strength, and thrust it into the gate of the Hua Shadow sect. The door was broken, leaving it turn into tiny chunks of wood. Landing on the Hua Shadow sect place, Jin Hyan was so confused and asked where is the trap that they expected. Chiang Myong asked him, why did he even break the gate when it is not even locked? He added, kids these days are just so rude. Seeing that there are only 5 disciples of Mount Hua, and few from Hua Shadow sect, Jin Hyan asks, is this it? Jin Hyan asks them, is that everyone you got to fight against us, the disciples of Wudang sect? He added, you really are confident, huh? However, that confidence might be as well arrogance. Hearing that made Yoon Young and Jojiel to question, since the way he speaks and looks seems quite familiar. Then Chiang Myong told Baekshin Sr. that must be your phrase, right? And continued to annoy him. That was what he said in their previous fight with one another, where he was beaten up by Chiang Myong one-sidedly. Chiang Myong just laughs at him at the back. This makes Jin Hyan starts to question, why does this seem to be carefree and relaxed? Jin Hyan told them that the Mount Hua sect was always inferior to the Wudang sect. He asks, do you think you can beat us? Chiang Myong told them that 100 years ago the Wudang are just smelling the feet of the Mount Hua. Jin Hyan told him, if he is talking about the Plum Blossom Sword Supreme, which was lost miserably to the Taiji Sword Emperor of the Wudang sect. That made Chiang Myong pause and asks, what the heck? Jin Hyan told them that in the past, the 2 of them clashed and the Plum Sword Supreme lost miserably. However, the Taiji Sword Emperor has hidden it to save Plum Sword Supreme face. He added that it means the Mount Hua sect was never on par with Wudang. The disciples of Mount Hua were so angry at what he said, and told him that he has no right to insult the Sword Supreme. But Chiang Myong is the Sword Supreme who was reincarnated though, and they did not even show their respect to him like what they are doing now. But he was never defeated by the Taiji Sword Emperor, who he thinks could die anytime. That darn old Taoist fight Chiang Myong in his past life. However, he insisted on a private duel so no one will know. The old man even said that he wants to teach him a lesson. The Sword Supreme was just listening to his nonsense words. But in the end, the Taiji Sword Emperor was just beaten to death, and even his clothes were torn apart. He even begs to be spared and for the Sword Supreme to stop him from beating. After that fight, the Sword Supreme even rented the whole restaurant and bought Chiang Myong the best wine, and he became the best servant for him even though he was old. But Chiang Myong was confused about why was the history distorted, maybe because there was no evidence at all. Chiang Myong told the Wudang that they are pathetic, and then he called Sahying. He asked Sahying if he did everything he asked. Sahying told him that he has already done what he ordered, which is to spread rumors and nannying. Then Chiang Myong told him that he had done a good job. He unsheathes his sword and then release a very fast slash. The fast slash created a very powerful wind from the impact, but Jin Hyan was confused because none of them was hit by it. But the slash was not aimed at them, but at the walls of the sect, which were broken down into pieces. Crazy bastard got angry when Wudang broke down the gate, but he did destroy the walls. A lot of people were outside of the sect hall and were waiting for the news. Chiang Myong said that he prefers to play in a large audience. He divides the opponent into his senior disciples, with Yu Isil taking 4, Zhou Jiao 3, and Yun Yung 2 opponents. He assigned Baekshin to face Jinhyun. Baekshin asks him what will he going to do, but of course, Chiang Myong relax on the side since doesn't want to fight weaklings. He happily ordered his senior to fight and cheered for them. They charged toward their enemy to show the result of their training and the power of Mount Hua. Two sects were about to clash their swords. Zhou Jiao knows that all of their opponents trained to improve their skills, but he knows that no one has trained like them in Mount Hua, because there was a crazy bastard who will beat them to death and use every means to drive them to their limits. In the training, Zhou Jiao thought that he might die. Actually, maybe he died, but just got revived. It was so hard that he doesn't even know when will the training stops. Zhou Jiao could only think if he made the right choice, as his body is getting tired, and his mind was filled with doubts. However, it is too late, since he cannot run away. He endured those hellish training, and now he can see it. The way his opponent grips the sword, the direction of his gaze, and the balance of the body. He wants to point out all of the flaws of his opponent, and he knows that they are no match for him. The Wudang sect swords technique revolves around counter-attacking and winning by turning their opponent's strength to their own advantage. The Wudang used that technique to become the best sword sect in the world. Then the only method to deal with their fighting style is just to become faster. Zhou Jiao and Yun Yung could see their movements clearly, and the opponents are too slow for them. Zhou Jiao and Yun Yung slashed their two opponent, beating them. The Wudang disciples could not believe that they are defeated by mere Mount Hua sect. Yun Yung told his opponent that their sword skills are not bad, but the difference in the way they train is too big, especially since they are trained by a crazy bastard. Zhou Jiao and Yun Yung smiled after they defeated their enemies, since they know that they become strong already. But Yun Yung knows that there are some crazy bastards who are not satisfied with their performance. Chiang Myong identified their mistakes in the fight and said to them that they are dead meat later. Yun Yung knows that he will be nagging like hell later, but still, he knows that they become stronger. But these two strongest second disciples are fighting with each other, which are on par. Sect leader was touched and amazed by the performance of Mount Hua, but of course, Chiang Myong was just drinking on the side, and the sect leader thinks of him as just a crazy bastard. He asks Chiang Myong why was he drinking when his seniors are fighting. Chiang Myong just said that he is the one that will punish them if they lost, of course, since he is the one who trained them. The Wudang sect, said to be the leader of Jianghu, is now getting overwhelmed by Mount Hua. Jin Hyan was even pushed back from the exchange. Jin Hyun knows that Baekshin is fast and strong. Baekshin told him to do what he must do, and he looks like someone who is not concerned about pride. That is when Jin Hyun ordered his fellow disciples to surround the Mount Hua sect. Baekshin annoyed him by saying that this is the best sight he wants to see. The Wudang sect is using their numbers to gang up the Mount Hua. Jin Hyun knows that this is shameful, and if not for the mission, he would choose to lose rather than do it. Jin Hyun said that he acknowledges that they are strong, and asked why was Cheong Myong not fighting. Is he looking down the Wudang sect? Baekshin told him that they are not skilled enough to face him. Hearing that made Jin Hyun angry. Baekshin told him that he does not need to be angry, since Baekshin could not also defeat him, and one day, he might even meet a monster with 3 heads and 6 arms. Baekshin told him that it is more suitable for them to fight, and they are just small fries for the Mount Hua divine dragon to be involved, which made Jin Hyun angry and rushed to him. Baekshin knows that Jin Hyun is one of the new generational leaders, and he is at the same level as him. Jin Hyun released a large sword slash. Jin Hyun's sword techniques are firm and carry great eternal energy. His attacks are just like large waves. But that means nothing for Baekshin, since he already blossomed as a disciple of Mount Hua. Baekshin attacks are like 7 illusionary images of him who releases continuous slash. 7 continuous slash was received by Jin Hyun, who was no match for him in the beginning. A technique called 7 Plum Blossom Sword, Plum Blossom Execution, was made, and all 7 slashes were executed and made Jin Hyun lose the fight, making him lose consciousness. The audience was so amazed at the plum blossom petals that were released in the fight. Cheong Myong could only praise Baekshin for acting cool. Cheong Myong shouted, "He is the righteous sword of Mount Hua," and told him that he is so cool, that only made Baekshin embarrassed. Yoon Young was gang up by the disciples. Yoon Young told him that he should not be the one that be gang up since he was the weakest of them all, and point them to Yu Isil, who is the second strongest. Yu Isil technique is like a sword dance that leaves her no opening from an enemy attack. Another disciple from Wudang released a surprise attack on her, but with his flexibility, it was easily evaded, defeating them both at a time. Seeing that most of the Wudang disciples are defeated, Baekshin asks them if they will continue, but the Wudang disciples have no will to fight. He ordered them to take away the senior disciples to be treat, and told them to leave Nanyang at night. Baekshin claimed their victory in the battle. Wudang disciples picked their fellow disciples. They acknowledged their defeat, and thanked Baekshin for his consideration. Baekshin told them that they should not mess with Mount Hua once again. Seeing the Wudang was defeated, many people outside want to be part of Mount Hua, and become their outer sect. Since they fight Wudang just for their outer sect, many people conclude that the prowess of Mount Hua is back. Baekshin goes to sect leader Wei, and told him that the Mount Hua sect has already protected their sect, and now, they are safe. Hearing that made the sect leaders tears to fall of, and thank him with all of his heart for offering the service. The disciple responded, "You are welcome. We simply did what we were supposed to do." The sect leader became emotional. Cheong Myong could only say the word, "Damn." This is a bloody touching story. The people in Nanyang congratulated sect leader Wei since what he was telling about Mount Hua has finally paid off. Sect leader thanked them with joy. Sect leader could only think that his father was right after all for telling him to trust Mount Hua. The sect leader wants to toss a glass for the heroes who saved his sect, but when he opens the door, there is something that was waiting for him. The place was in chaos, and the disciples of Mount Hua are chasing Cheong Myong. But Cheong Myong was just walking in the air, easily evading them. Everyone told him to stop causing trouble, but Cheong Myong just said to them that their job is done, and even though he is not satisfied with their performance, he will look over it since they had won, but with the exception of Jojial, who will receive a beating. Cheong Myong told them that the thing he will do is the utmost importance. He jumps so fast and kicked the door out, and then jumps again so fast that it can travel to a city. In a flash, he was gone. Knowing that Cheong Myong got escape, all of them could think that they are screwed. The sect leader could only think that there must be something wrong that is about to happen. At night, When all of them are treated, the Wudang sect was about to leave nannying from that defeat. Jin Hyan waked up, and he could only remember the wounds and how he was beaten up by Baekshun. Jin Hyan told their fellow disciples that they cannot go back empty-handed, especially since they sullied the name of the Wudang. Then their senior Mu Jin suddenly appeared in the area. Mu Jin is one of the most powerful first-class disciple in Wudang. On top of that, he is part of the 3 swords of Wudang who are known to be the strongest. They were curious what was someone like him doing here. Mu Jin told them that the sect leader was the one who ordered him to go since he was worried, seeing them defeated. Jin Mu asks them if they were gang up by the people in sect. Jin Mu told them that if they are weak, they will not be criticized, but the Wudang is the one that will suffer from those criticisms. Jin Mu said that they will just go straight to the sword graveyard and forget nannying, and the Wudang has already figured out its location. Mu Jin asks Jin Hyan if he can still continue the journey, then Jin Hyan told him that he can still finish the task. Then Mu Jin suddenly notices something and told the man who is hiding to show himself. Cheung Myong came out and told them that he is just a robber that is passing by, and he wants to ask them a question. But no one believes him, especially since they are in the forest. Cheung Myong then introduces himself as a mountain bandit once again, but of course, no one believed and thinks that he is just a lunatic. Seeing the plum blossom in his sword, Jin Hyan could only conclude that he is the crazy bastard of Mount Hua, the divine dragon. Cheung Myong asks him how did he know that, but then he takes back what he said and told him that he is not that person. But Jin Hyan knows that he is packing, obviously. Jin Hyan told him that he has no honor, but Cheung Myong denied that he is not the person that he was thinking. But he said it a while ago that he is. Mu Jin told him that if he is not a disciple of Mount Hua, he have a reason to cut him now, and it can be solved peacefully if they take off his mask and apologize. Cheung Myong told them that he also has something to say. He wants to know about the sword graveyard, then he will overlook everything and allow them to continue on their way, otherwise he will not show mercy. Mu Jin told him that he had heard that the Mount Hua sect have gotten stronger, and the strongest among them is the Mount Hua divine dragon. Cheung Myong replied that there is no need to say embarrassing things, and that is just an exaggeration, while laughing. Jin Hyan could only think that this idiot needs to show at least an effort in hiding his identity. Mu Jin told him that he will act like he did not see the plum blossom sign, and act like he does not know at all so he can have an excuse to injure him. Cheung Myong could sense a blade-like pressure on him, pressure that could make him feel that he can be cut at any moment. This man is on a different level than the second-class disciple. He is probably the most skilled martial master that Cheung Myong will fight since his reincarnation. Cheung Myong warns him that he had an old habit, so he better watch his head. Jin Hyan remembered what Baekshun told him, that he is stronger than any of them. So he concludes that Cheung Myong is the strongest disciple, but he thinks it is still crazy to fight someone who is 30 years older than him. Before they start to fight, Cheung Myong told him that they should have a bet first. Cheung Myong told him that the loser will follow the winner, and he wants to hear the sword graveyard that they are talking about. Mu Jin told him that if Cheung Myong lose, he must take off his mask, bow, and apologize, and will acknowledge that Wudang sect is far above Mount Hua in terms of power. Cheung Myong said that he is not part of Mount Hua, but he still agrees to it. Cheung Myong told him that he will give him a chance to strike first. That made Mu Jin angry and thinks that Cheung Myong is just arrogant. Cheung Myong said that if you don't want to strike first, he will, then release a very fast and long slash. The slash made a cut on Mu Jin's face and sliced the tree in half, which made him shocked. Cheung Myong said to him, "It was just a small greeting." Mu Jin thanks him for his consideration because if he aims it on his neck, his head will already fly. Cheung Myong told him that if he is thankful, he should fight him seriously. Then with the blink of an eye, Mu Jin suddenly rushed to him. Rushing to strike Cheung Myong, he thrust his sword, but it was easily evaded and it hit on the ground. The impact of the sword created a large hole on the ground. But that doesn't end there since Mu Jin is ready for another attack. He jumps to Chiang Myong, ready to slash him anytime. Chiang Myong wants to test just how different the current Jianghu is compared to 100 years ago when he was the Plum Sword Supreme. Have the martial arts advanced? Or have they weakened due to losing everything in the war with demonic cult? There is a continuous exchange between the two, but Chiang Myong was in the upper hand when he saw an opening. He releases a strong kick that created a large impact on the ground, which made Mu Jin fall, receiving that strong attack. Falling to the ground, his fellow disciples was worried, but there is a shining energy that was suddenly released. Chiang Myong realized that it was ever-flowing sword energy that the Wudang sect is proud of. One needs a lot of internal energy to maintain it. That is the reason why most in their generation has to stop in second-class disciples. Wudang sects are late bloomers since most of their techniques require a large amount of internal energy to take down opponents. So even if different people use the same technique, all of it will depend on their internal energy. Chiang Myong could comment on that technique as something that befits its name. He wants Mu Jin to show him everything and jump on its attack. But with Azuri sword art of Chiang Myong, it was easily slashed. Mu Jin was so shocked that the unbreakable sword energy of the Wudang sect was easily cut. Since he was on the edge, he used one of his best techniques. He releases a very strong energy stream. This technique was called taking sword art that creates a huge flow of energy stream. Seeing that Jin Hyan was so amazed of his senior technique, it was so perfect that he could not believe that someone was able to use taking sword art in that way. Mu Jin believes that with that attack, it will be over. But Chiang Myong easily deflected it with just one basic attack. That attack of using energy stream made a backlash on Mu Jin that made him suffer. Chiang Myong asks him, "Is that all you got? 3 swords of Wudang my ass, you are so weak. You need to take some beating before we continue talking." Seeing that the sword of Chiang Myong nearly hit his face, Mu Jin got panic, but got a chance to evade it. The attack hit the ground, breaking it and create a large explosion. Seeing that impressive attack, Mu Jin knows that if he is hit by that attack, it will not only end with just a stab, but he will die on the spot. Mu Jin told Chiang Myong that he was shocked seeing him cut the tidal wave, that he had put a lot of energy and mental power. Then he slashes Chiang Myong using his energy. Although Chiang Myong evaded it, he breaks it and released 10 more tides of energy. He attacks him with a technique called taking sword art, a collective tidal surge which releases a lot of numbers of energy tides. Seeing that attack, Chiang Myong was so happy and told him that he should have done that from the start. Chiang Myong used a Mount Hua technique called Invisible Scent Stride. That technique made Chiang Myong dodge all of those attacks easily. But that doesn't end that since Mu Jin has a hidden card. He pulled all those tides towards him that even made Chiang Myong stun. Mu Jin knows that if Chiang Myong is not reachable by his tide, all of it was useless. But Chiang Myong was in the place where he wants him to be, stuck in the air with no place to land. He then attacks him with his gentle strike of energy. Chiang Myong was able to block the energy mid-air, but the energy returned at his back. Chiang Myong could only praise him because he made Chiang Myong trap and proceeded with an attack that is so hard to deal. It was a good plan considering it was created on the spot. But Chiang Myong just kicked that tide and it vanished, making him a boost in the mid-air that made Mu Jin leave no choice but to use his final attack. He uses the Insight sword art, which is not only the greatest sword art of Wudang, but is also its symbol. Seeing that, Jin Hyan conclude that it was his senior's victory the moment he used that technique. But seeing that technique made Chiang Myong angry and bashed that technique. Chiang Myong hit that attack with his sword and told Mu Jin that he already doing good. But why did he pull that sheet and then bash the sword towards his face? But that doesn't end that he bashes again his face because he was so angry at him when he used an unmastered technique to fight. Mu Jin could only think it could be his last resort to fight Chiang Myong, but even that technique failed. Receiving that punch again, he knows that he will die at that rate, and the only choice he could do is to run. He wants to aim an opening to run. That is when Chiang Myong shouted, "Head." He thinks that is an opening he was waiting for. But it was just a feint, and Chiang Myong punched his chin so hard that made him unconscious. Chiang Myong said to him, "How could you only protect your head because I simply shouted that? There is no honest enemy. Think of it as a good experience." He kicks Mu Jin because he wants to ask him, but in his state, he will be in a deep sleep for 3 days. He then called Jin Hyan and asks him about the sword safeguard, which he corrected later on as the sword graveyard. Jin Hyan doesn't want to talk first, but seeing the hands of Chiang Myong, he knows that he will be a goner if he will be hit by that. Since the Wudang disciples don't want to talk, he will just wake up Mu Jin by just beating him more. He will eventually wake up from beating unless he will die. Seeing the situation of his senior, Jin Hyan could only tell him the secret of the place. Jin Hyan told him that the graveyard has the grave of the Woundless Interceptor. The Woundless Interceptor was the strongest 200 years ago, before even the era of Sword Plum Blossom. Jin Hyan told him that the Wudang sect has been robbed recently. While catching the robber, they got hold of a hidden treasure map that they deciphered later on, and turn out that the treasure was in Nani. Chiang Myong asks him, "What is in the graveyard?" When Jin Hyan said he don't know, he threatened him again that he will beat his senior. He told him that the sword interceptor is a person who does not belong to any other sect. He won all the duels around the world, and he takes the sword as a trophy when he defeats a martial master. If the martial master won, he will return all the swords that he had taken so far, and if they lost, he will take away their sword. But in the end, no one won against him. A rumor started that he gathered all his weapons in one place, and then he made it his own grave, where he left all of his martial knowledge, and the one who will attain it will rule all over Jianghu. Then Chiang Myong told him, "I see, so that is how is it?" Then beat his senior again. Because he was not satisfied with his answer, and because of telling him such lies, the eyes of Jin Hyan could go out from shock. Chiang Myong told him that he is so obvious for telling lies, and he will punch his senior until he wakes up. And for the punishment of making him a fool, they should pay the price. Before the punch hit his senior, Jin Hyan shouted with all his might that it is about the medicine immortal. The impact of punch of Chiang Myong created a large wind. If that hit his senior, we don't know what will happen. Jin Hyan told him that the Woundless Sword Interceptor is actually the medicine immortal, the medicine maker who said who could bring back the dead, the one who have eaten the origin energy pill every meal that is stronger than Shaolin Great Pill. Chiang Myong laughed like an evil, and now he sees that all what he says makes sense. The medicine immortal is known to be the best in medicine with incredible skills in craft. The origin energy pill he created is so priceless treasure for martial artists who risk their lives with their energy and techniques. 100 years ago, when there is a rumor about the origin pill, a huge bloodshed will take place. After all, numerous martial artists would kill to get it. But talking about the grave, the method of making it could be there. Looking at his face, Jin Hyan knows that this evil bastard will not let him go unless he tells him everything. The medicine immortal was not known for his martial arts, but able to defeat swordsmen, which means he had so much energy that they could ever imagine. There are many people that suspect that the immortal interceptor and the medicinal immortal are the same. Back then, after he passed away, his acquaintance leaked his real identity, and only a few knows this truth. Jin Hyan asks him to let him go since he told them everything, but this bastard asks for the treasure map. Chiang Myong said that even if someone who had the map can't find the sword graveyard, how can someone who has no map can find it? That is why he need the map to balance his side. Jin Hyan could only shout at him, "How the hell did it turn out like this?" Jin Hyan told him that he cannot give him the map. Chiang Myung asks him, "You can't give it?" That is when he raised his legs and kicked the ground, creating a huge hole near his senior. He asks Jin Hyan to choose, give me the map or be buried on the ground with only your head sticking out until I find the sword graveyard. Jin Hyan could only shiver in fear. Bro gives him a trauma which was just a question. What an evil bastard.